Is the one who brought the cupcakes and the cakes, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for letting me sponsor that with the cupcakes tonight. I really appreciate it. What we're trying to do is once a year sponsor an event in each one of my communities to make sure that I'm out in the community and hopefully people have opportunities to talk with me. So I appreciate it. This actually got started and in a different community, and this is the second one we're doing. We've got a third one now scheduled. So for those that don't know, I have a very large district. I have 4 City of San Diego council districts. So I have Councilman Kersey's district, Councilman Sherman's district, Councilwoman Lori Zapp's district, and Councilwoman Sherry Leichner's district. Plus I have the incorporated cities of Escondido, Encinitas, Solana Beach, and Del Mar. Of the 5 districts, I have the largest in population, 650,000. And Supervisor Ron Roberts, no relation, has the smallest at 609,000. But I just wanted to share a few things with you. And before I did, I wanted to tell you a quick story because, first of all, I am honored to be your supervisor, and I love being your supervisor. And for those that may have looked at my card here with my contact stuff on in my bio, I had the honor of being a presidential appointee for both George W. Bush and Barack Obama in the Department of Health and Human Services. And being a supervisor is more than a full-time job. And when you have 5 kids, it's really more than a full-time job. And so I did not accept a 3rd appointment. And then the National Council of Governors asked if I would serve on the National Health Steering Committee because with healthcare reform coming, the county is the lifeline to provide health care in the United States. And they asked for somebody with my expertise that works across political party lines to really get involved. So I flew to San Antonio last week, and my flight, of course, was late, so I got into the hotel about 1 a.m. And on the bathroom wall was a picture in the hotel room, and I'm told it was in every bathroom, and it said, "This is where America lost its innocence." And I thought, that's interesting, it's a picture of the hotel. And so the next morning I got up and I went to my first meeting, but I stopped at the concierge desk and I said, "What does that mean?" And they said, "Don't you know the history of this hotel?" And I said, "No, I don't." And they said, "This is formerly the Hotel Texas. And in November 1963, the President and First Lady stayed at this hotel. The next morning, they had, the President spoke at the Chamber of Commerce. They then had a press conference outside. Even though it was drizzling, there was a huge crowd in the plaza outside the hotel. And then he made his motorcade over to Dallas, and that's where America lost its innocence. But I tell you this story because even though America has lost its innocence, I think there are many great things still about America. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to be a county supervisor, we are the 5th most populated county in the United States, San Diego County, the 2nd most populated in the state of California. And we are a great county, but we could be even greater. And so what I've been doing, I just passed my 6-month anniversary of being in office, and I can't believe it's flown by so quickly. But I have been working on things that I talked about last year, including when I came here, things that I had a passion in that I thought the county could do better in. And some of those things that I have been working on, one, and I was talking with a few folks before the meeting began, is that Supervisor Diane Jacob, who has this district to our right here, including Poway, she and I both were talking after the election before I got sworn in about things that we wanted to work on together. One of the things we talked about was mental health. And was the county really doing all they could in mental health service? This is a county function, it's not a city function. And so we agreed that we ought to do an audit of all our mental health services here in San Diego County. And so the audit results are actually coming back on July 30th, and we're going to be discussing them. And one of the things that we are hoping to push the county on is what is called assisted outpatient treatment. Historically, many people in San Diego have had to go to the criminal justice system one way or another, voluntarily or involuntarily, to get mental health service. And so in this audit, we said we want the sheriff to be part of it, we want the district attorney, we want probations, and we want health to be part of it. And lo and behold, the recommendation, we've seen the draft recommendations, is that we need to provide county-wide assisted outpatient treatment. And the case that really did it for me happened in my district in Encinitas. A mother was so distraught, she went and got a restraining order against her son, hoping that her son would violate the restraining order and be taken into the criminal justice system to get mental health treatment. Unfortunately, it backfired. The son shot 2 deputy sheriffs and then committed suicide in the attic of her home in Encinitas. And so we're hoping that we can expand treatment throughout the county in a cost-neutral way. We are actually going to expand some of the funding in it, but we're hoping that it will hopefully lessen the cost in public safety, but make us all safer. So July 30th at 9 a.m. we're going to be having this discussion at the county building. And for those that are interested in it, as I tell people, I bet almost every family can either know somebody or is touched by mental health issues. And it's a big issue. I know up in North County we have an elected woman who has come to me, not from my district, but Bill Warren's district, and she says that her brother is afflicted with this. I have the head of a very large health system in San Diego. His mother is afflicted with mental health issues and could really use more assisted outpatient treatment. So it's one of those things that we're working on. Another thing that Diane Jacob and I are passionate about is solar, and trying to have everybody that wants to have solar to have the ability to have solar. And unfortunately, the federal government has gotten involved in this, and things haven't turned out quite how we want, but we're still pursuing it. And basically, the concept is that anybody that wants to do any energy efficiency in San Diego County to their home can go out, get a contract, and have it funded through private funding sources, but then pay it back on their property tax bill over a 20-year period. So we're continuing to push that initiative, and we've got the staff working on it, and we really think it not only will be good for the economy, it'll be good for business, and it'll be good for the economy because we are home right here in Rancho Bernardo to Soitec. We're home to a number of solar providers, and that's something really important. Of course, something that hit home for me, and I know some of you are interested in this topic, I'm the father of 5 adopted county foster children. My oldest, that's been with us for almost 15 years, just graduated from high school, and he's turning 18 next week and going to be enlisting in the Air Force this fall and going off to Lackland for basic training. But all our 5 kids are doing well, but I had, as you know, probably from last year, I had many struggles in my challenges with the county, and I thought there were improvements. Chairman Greg Cox recognizes those issues also. We've already passed 2 pieces of legislation in the county to make improvements in how we do foster care and in really working on how we can make adoption of foster children more efficient. So I'm really pleased that we have been working on that initiative. One of the things that people are always interested in when a supervisor comes is what's going on with the county grant program. And I have pledged to make it open and transparent, and so instead of these being Dave Roberts' pet projects, I set up a committee. I went to my 8 jurisdictions and I said, please nominate somebody from each of the jurisdictions. Your council members nominated, your council member from this district, Mark Kersey, nominated Ed Luna, who was the representative. I thought Ed did a great job. He was very engaged in the conversation, and we made our recommendations. And for just some of the projects in Rancho Bernardo or nearby, we did a grant to the Poway Center for the Performing Arts because it's really important to Rancho Bernardo. We did a grant to the San Diego North Chamber of Commerce, and of course the Spirit of the Fourth, which is a great community event. We're getting ready, we hope, if they get their grant application in, to do one for the new RV museum and paving their parking lot. And so we are really excited about that. Every month, I have a set time to be in Rancho Bernardo. We actually meet here in the library. I actually got an opportunity to go meet with RSVP and Neighborhood Watch and the new presence here when I was here just this past week. And but we're normally here the second Thursday of every month, from 10 a.m. to noon. If you don't just want to walk in, we get people that walk in, and we've met some really interesting people. We've met an author that came in and talked about some books he had published. But some people come in. You can also make an appointment, and we'll honor the appointment. I usually have staff with me. Wes Moore is my community representative for Rancho Bernardo. One of two. We have two actually for Rancho Bernardo. You've got my contact card here also, and every Friday, right after lunch, we put out a weekly e-newsletter, and we try to tell you what's going on in the county, what I'm working on, because many people said they historically didn't really know what was going on in the county and what the top issues are. And we think that openness and transparency is very important. And so we do that, and if you are on Facebook, we do Facebooks, and today I hit 2,201 Facebook friends, and which was interesting. And we just went over 8,000 subscribers to our weekly e-newsletter in 6 months, so we thought that was great. Then the final thing, we just approved the county budget, and by law it has to be balanced, and the budget is just pennies underneath $5 billion. It's a big county budget. We have this coming year that started July 1st, we have 17,401 employees in the county, which for a county of our size is actually a small number. So, but we're really pleased with the budget. All 5 of us on the board are working together to really continue working on those things that we think the folks in our districts are interested in. I thank you for the opportunity to give an update, and I would love if there's any questions people would like to ask me to please ask. And again, just to remind you, I am the first new supervisor in the entire county in 18 years, and in this district in 20 years.
I'm the first Democrat in 20 years.
I am nonpartisan in my office. I work with everybody, and I'm proud of it. So, and I actually just we opened our satellite office in Escondido, and we had about 200 people that showed up for our open house. And I would have to say about 3/4 actually came from the party you didn't just mention, because they wanted me to know how much they appreciated my outreach, and I thought that was very generous and gracious of them. So, anyways, questions? Yes?
I just wanted to thank you because I worked in mental health in San Diego for many, many, many years, and I think what you're doing is very, very much needed. I work in triage, and it's very, very much needed. Thank you.
I appreciate that. It's one of those issues that a lot of people don't want to touch. And long before I was in elected office, I worked with Senator Patrick Kennedy from Rhode Island when I worked for Congress on making sure that mental health was treated on the same level as physical health. And there used to be stigma, and there still is sometimes a stigma involved in it. There were funding challenges, and there still are. And so we've really been working on this. And the other part of our audit, just to mention, there are funding challenges with providing mental health services. And one of the things you may have heard about is something called Laura's Law, which is providing care to mental patients that may not be able to personally say they want the care. And the county can't use funding, and so we're working with the legislature to make sure that funding sources can be used to provide mental health services. So, so I'm really pleased, and again, it's just one of those things I thought the county could do better, and I'm glad my colleagues agree with me and are willing to work with me on this. So. Yes, sir?
Anything you can share on the fire service going forward?
Excellent question. We were talking during the thing, and I probably in this meeting in particular should mention that. We are just getting ready to look at the next 5-year plan for the County Fire Authority. And I was sharing during the meet and greet reception, the county budget is actually going up almost $2 million and to $17 million. And while that may sound like a lot, if you compare it against the city of San Diego, they spend $220 million on fire service. And so I just met with Chief Javier Maynard yesterday and talking to him, because what happens in the county in District 2, Diane Jacobs District, affects us in my district, because usually the fire comes this way. And we have to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we have the tools and the resources needed for fire prevention. I was sharing earlier, one of the things I'm also encouraging is to try to bring together the key fire folks throughout the county, because the county is very diverse, very complex, and there's a lot of different resources. We have volunteer firefighters, we have paid firefighters, we have, up on the coast and over in Lemon Grove, communities that have merged together. their firefighting capability. So Encinitas, Solana Beach, Del Mar merged their management of firefighting together. Lemon Grove and a few communities have merged theirs together to try to be more efficient and effective. And I think the more we can get people talking together, the better we can be at providing all the resources that we need to prevent, the catastrophe like we saw in 03 and 07. I am funding a grant in Scripps Ranch. They are doing a 10-year commemorative on the 03 fire. We're working with Tony Young, who is now the head of American Red Cross, and they're getting ready to announce Prepare San Diego, which is an initiative that they're going to work with the city and the county and others on to make sure that we really provide all the tools so that people are prepared. And he's just getting ready to launch that initiative in the next couple of weeks.
What kind of grant is kind of grant are you giving to Scripps?
Scripps Ranch is going to do kind of a commemorative program to remind people about it's the 10th anniversary, but also to make sure that people are prepared.
To better educate them, get them.
Education, what you need to do, that if you're told to evacuate, you really need to evacuate, and that we're not kidding. And, because a lot of times people are new, they move around, and people come from other parts of the country, and they don't recognize the seriousness of fire and harm caused by fire. And so I thought it was a great proposal that they, for a few $1,000s, and I wanted to help them out, because of course, like many communities, they were devastated by the fires. Yes, sir.
I was interested in your statistic about San Diego being the fifth most populous county in the country. You may want to add to that statistic that the geographic area of San Diego County is approximately the size of the state of Connecticut. If you put those two things together, it gives a better picture.
Right. And to really make it ironic, Connecticut is the only state in the United States that does not have county government. And Connecticut is my home state. I'm the 11th generation Connecticut. And in 1965, and some of you will really appreciate this, in 1965 there were 30 supervisors in Connecticut, 5 per the 6 counties. And the Democrats took over the legislature in Hartford, and they wiped out county government and said, we don't need it. Either the 169 towns and cities will run it, or the state will run it. And so they completely wiped out the level of government. Just a little historical tidbit, because I was telling folks, my mother actually worked for U.S. Senator Prescott Bush, who was the father and grandfather of 2 presidents. And then both my grandparents were representatives in Connecticut. My grandfather chaired the Rules Committee and then the Appropriations Committee in Connecticut. And so, but it's interesting, and it is a good statistic, and to remind me of my former home. So anyways, anything else?
Yeah, the Fed is in the news all the time as usual, but particularly about the NSA collecting all kinds of data on law-abiding citizens, sucking up all their emails and phone calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A local police department does the same thing with license plate readers. They're collecting data on law-abiding citizens, and I don't know exactly what they're doing with it. But I understand that the Sheriff's Department has made a determination they're going to keep theirs indefinitely. And I'm wondering, do you have any comment about that, or do you know anything about it? It's really quite a database that they're building on your whereabouts. If they're capturing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of license plates a week, and they start building a database on your whereabouts, where you go, what church you go to, where you work, who you visit with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, on law-abiding citizens, and he intends to keep it. So, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I think my job as a supervisor, my probably #1 responsibility is public safety. And so I work closely with the Sheriff's Department, with the District Attorney, with our probation chief. And he and I have not, Sheriff Phil Gore and I have not specifically talked about this issue, but it was interesting. I was actually following the debate in Congress this week, and a person used an analogy, and it happened to be a Republican, and who voted for the continuing collection of phone information. And he said, it's kind of like you're looking for a needle in a haystack. If you take a leaf blower and you blow all the hay away, there's not going to be any place to hide. So why would you, not want to continue to have all the information necessary? So, my response would be, from a county perspective, that data is really important to provide public safety. And if I ever hear, the first time I hear about the inappropriate use of data, I would immediately talk with my colleagues and with the sheriff about changes. But I have not heard anything, negative about this. And again, it's new technology, it's new usage, and I'm really trying to, make sure that we provide the top-notch security. One of the challenges we have here, and we are different from many of the 3,600 counties around the United States, is that we're a border county. And we are a major transit route into the United States, either for, business or other activities. And one of the many uses of the data is to track who is coming through the county from outside the county, particularly south of us. And again, it's something we have to work closely with, many jurisdictions. I used to be on CNDAG Public Safety. And yes, you're actually right, they come in through the votes in my communities. So we just had one in Del Mar. So again, it's an issue, it's a concern, and I think like all Americans, and I mentioned, my experience in Texas where we've lost our innocence. One of the things that we're trying to do is just calibrate. How do we protect our individual liberties in the time that we live in? And I think many law enforcement agencies, many public officials are trying to figure that out. It's not perfect. And again, if people, have ideas, I'd be glad. I encourage you to, come to one of my, monthly things. But I think that, right now, I think that the Sheriff Lagore and his team are doing a great job. And, it's a big county here that we're responsible for providing safety. Yes?
I work at Seven Oaks Community Center, and I write the monthly newsletter. And one of the things that I get asked the most about from the residents to include is the coyote problem in Seven Oaks. Is the county involved in that at all?
That is something I will have to check in. The county has animal control and animal services, and I will have to check on that because I am not sure if the city buys that service. I know Encinitas, Solana Beach, Del Mar, and Escondido buys that service from us, but I'm not sure if the city does. So I could be glad, again, Wes, just give me your contact information and we'll check, and then I get it for your newsletter or website too.
Actually, I had sent information to a resident in Oaks North, another area that's having coyote problems. I sent her information at the same time I had sent it to Jerry, asking him if perhaps he could put it in your newsletter.
I did put it in
Oh,
August
there you go.
newsletter,
Okay.
yes. I was just wondering how the county is involved in, if you are.
Yeah, I personally have not, but I'd be glad to look into it. I will tell you, in my neighborhood, I live in Solana Beach, we've had both a coyote and a bobcat in our neighborhood, which we find really interesting, and why they're coming into some of the more developed areas that have been developed for 30-plus years now.
Well, I think because this is a senior community, it's a little bit different
Yep.
issue
Yep.
because, people walk their dogs and they're a little more frail and
Yep.
unsteady, and the coyotes are so bold and they are picking animals up right in front of owners.
Yes, we'll check on it.
They're hungry. They're the food source burned up in those fires, the rabbits and whatever else they eat. They had to come into civilization.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to be your supervisor, and again, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact us, eat up the cupcakes, and have a great meeting.
Thank you. And if any of you didn't have an opportunity to have your questions answered, you can